What's up, everyone? Thank you for tuning into our 4th annual Mr. Olympia show. We'll lay down our predictions and in a few short days, find out who the hero and the GOAT is of this call. My first co-pilot is no stranger to SuppTalk Radio, joining us a few weeks back. Please welcome the head of marketing of Apollon Nutrition, Rich Vellucci. Rich, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Sean. Appreciate it.
And my second co-pilot is no stranger as well to SuppTalk Radio and has actually been on the Olympia stage. Put your hands together for the 1998 Nationals overall winner, Jason Arntz. Jason, welcome back, buddy.
Sean, thank you. I appreciate you having me on. And good timing right before the Olympics.
It's been a while, and I'm glad you were able to jump on so quickly. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
So, Rich, before we get into our predictions, I want to ask you one quick question. Do you feel the Olympia has lost its luster without Kai this year and last year?
Kai is a huge personality. He does a lot internationally. I think he brings a lot to the table. I mean, he's been in the game a long time. So anytime you take a star like that has such big brand name recognition, it's going to have an impact on the IFBB. I mean, there's still a lot of top talent, though. I mean, some of these guys, the updates you see on Instagram, their progress pictures, they're looking absolutely freaky, especially the guys out of Kuwait. So I think there's still enough of a draw. You don't have the rivalry between Kai and Phil anymore, but I think there's a lot of strong contenders that are on Phil's heels this year. So I think this year there's a lot more competition than there might have been even last year, in my opinion.
Interesting. And Jay, we spoke just offline a minute ago, and I know you're retired and happy, living a good life. But Flex Wheeler coming back for the Classic. What's your thoughts?
Well, look, I mean, if anybody could come back, it's definitely Flex Wheeler. He has one of those physiques that just, is timeless, and I think he's kept, good stature, and he's kept in shape through the years. So I think he'll make a good standing, and I think he's got a great shot at a top 3 spot for the Classic Physique division this year.
Jason, and one more question. As I mentioned earlier, you've been on the Olympia stage. Now, when you're training for the Olympia versus maybe a Tampa Pro or another show, are you focusing differently, or you've been always ball to the wall regardless of the show?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, until they introduced the 202-pound class in 1998, it was a little difficult for me because I'm used to competing, at the amateur level when you're hungry for your pro card, it's different when you're training for a purpose as opposed to training for a placing. In the open class for me, it was difficult, and I was always hoping to get a top 5 spot, and I fared, pretty well with the guys up there. But when they introduced the 202-pound division in 2008, it just opened up a window for me and really allowed me to get my training back in perspective and focus on a goal and being able to qualify for the Olympia, for that year. Well, for 4 years, actually. There's really, there's nothing like it. Being on the biggest stage in the world with the best athletes in the world, that's what I do miss from retirement. Coming out of bodybuilding and being on that high and not being able to do it anymore, that was the biggest step for me for retiring is losing that, because just like I said, there really is a huge difference training for a Tampa Pro or any other pro show as opposed to being on the Mr. Olympia stage. It's just gratifying in itself to be there, just to be on that stage. It's tremendous, and you have to acknowledge all the athletes that are going to be there this weekend, and there's nothing in the world like it.
And Jason, when you competed in the 90s, of course, everybody has their favorite. You competed in the 90s and in the 2000s. Do you think back at that time frame, it was common for all the top guys, the Flex Wheelers, the Kevin Lavonis, the Sean Rays, to do multiple shows a year? Now, you fast forward to this time, all the tops are doing one show a year, whether it's possibly the Arnold or the Olympia. Do you think that's hurting the overall brand of bodybuilding?
It's different because back then, guys were contracted athletes, and they made decent money being contracted athletes, and there really weren't a lot of other ways to make money in the sport. So they would try to go for more shows, and they would try to, get some prize money, even though the prize money wasn't that great at that time. Nowadays, and look, training for 2, 3, 4 shows a year certainly takes its toll on your body, and it's hard to peak time and time again, and some of the top guys at that time who I was looking up to and competing with, were doing it well. Nowadays it is harder and has taken its toll, and you have health risks and concerns going into competitions, and dehydrating and getting to extreme low body fat for extended period of times is not the healthiest line to walk. So you do have to be careful. Nowadays it's I don't want to say it's watered down, but with social media, guys, and fortunate for these guys, they have other opportunities to make money. The prize money has gotten better. I'm surprised some of the guys aren't doing more of the shows. I don't know what their reasoning is for that, but the prize money has gotten a little bit better, and it does give some of these guys opportunities to make a better showing and state a better case for themselves to venture out and do other things in the sport. You mentioned Kai Green before, and he's an ambassador to that. He's gone on and moved on to other things, and he is a huge draw, and he will be missed from this year's Olympia. But to fully answer the question, yeah, I am surprised that some of the guys are not competing as much as they used to.
Yeah, but as you said earlier, though, I think it's people don't realize how much effort goes into dieting and supplementation and training and everything else. But again, it's so many people thinking that bodybuilding's dying, but hopefully it's not. Let's put it that way, because there's still a lot of good people out there trying to make a name for themselves.
Yeah, it definitely has lost a little bit of its curve appeal, and now with the men's physique and the classic physique, it gives other guys an opportunity who really look. It's a step down. All these classes, they're all great athletes, but ultimately everybody who started off wanted to be a bodybuilder. That appeal, I don't know if is fully there anymore. So with that being said, it leaves an opportunity for other guys who, might not want to be as big, or might not want to, or don't see an appeal to get that big, or might not have a market in whatever they're reaching for in whatever industry that is. There might not be a market for that. So with the classic physique division and the men's physique division, it does give other avenues and other people opportunities to have a name have their name in the hat and to get a little recognition and possibly build a future for themselves. But yeah, I think the sport of bodybuilding has digressed a little bit. That's definitely taken a step back, but you still have your guys out there year in, year out that are hitting it hard, and there is a following. There definitely still is a following, and I'm hoping there's a comeback for it. It is my sport, so I'm hoping there is a turnaround for this, but we'll see.
Rich, question for you, if you can answer or not. Do you feel people like the Durham Charles and Flex Wheeler doing classic is fair? Because I always picture them obviously as these mass monsters that should be in the heavyweights. And it's almost, I don't know if they're taking the spotlight away from the up and comers. And I don't know if you can disagree with that.
I don't know if it's so much as taking spotlight. I mean, let's face it, when you're an athlete, most people have been athletes their whole lives. Jason was alluding to it. It's really difficult to walk away and retire from something. I think it's very realistic for people to want to get that second win and try and give it one more go. So these guys with these huge names that competed years ago, and we have this classic physique division now where, you have a pretty good upper body. You don't have to bring your legs up as much because when you get older, it's really hard to keep that mass on your legs, as you could see with Kevin's performance last year. He couldn't get his legs up, and that's why he placed where he placed. But I think it's good to have those big names because it gets the nostalgia going of the fans from the 80s, 90s that hear those names, and it gets clicks and it gets views and it creates buzz. Because to kind of piggyback on the previous question of things getting watered down, I think you would be very unreasonable to say that it isn't, given the amount of classes we have now, and exactly what you were saying with the Olympia, the top 10, stacked. Those guys look phenomenal. They're all good in their own way. Obviously, some are bigger, some are more conditioned, but they're all great athletes. But they're competing once a year. They're either competing at the Olympia and doing a couple of shows with the Euro Tour and going out to Korea. So maybe they're doing 2 or 3 shows a year, but it's back to back to back and the season's already over. You don't see the top tier talent competing at Dallas Europas, Tampa Pros. I mean, those are more of like the second tier guys that are just trying to steal qualification for the Olympia, and they kind of sneak in and they're going to finish in the top 15. outside of, I think, the 2016 Open New York Pro, outside of talking about Olympias and Arnold's, that was the only, like, local level show I think that was absolutely stacked to the teeth that I can remember since I've seriously started following bodybuilding over the past few years. So having names in the Olympia is one thing, but, you know, the sport of bodybuilding lasts more than a weekend, and you definitely want athletes to compete. I mean, your IFBB pros, your pro athletes, obviously placing at the Olympia is the gold standard of how you're considered in the sport, but you got to compete, you know. But at the other side of the coin, you can understand how, as an athlete, you want to perform your best at the highest stage, and they're all trying to work on progress. It's really hard to make improvements when you're dying to do shows all the time. So it's tough to balance, and you can both definitely understand why people make the decisions they make.
Richard, I mean this respectfully. I know you're a lot younger than Jason and I. What decade did you enjoy most?
For me, I mean, I was like a late 90s, early 2000s, because that's when I was really starting to get into lifting. So Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler's, you know, YouTube videos. I mean, I was always a football player, so I didn't really have a huge bodybuilding itch. I just loved working out, you just, through the grapevine, you see what's going on. But, I mean, I remember hearing Jay Cutler won the Olympia when I was in, like, middle school. I was like, how the hell did the quarterback of the Bears win the Olympia? That doesn't make sense. You know, so I didn't have a huge following of bodybuilding probably until I got, you know, into college, and, you know, I was trying to read up about nutrition to help me with football. So I don't have a great history of bodybuilding, to be completely honest. But I mean, the Ronnie and Jay and Kai, their YouTube videos. I mean, we didn't have Instagram, Facebook wasn't around. You know, I'm not that young, so I really was just reduced to YouTube and obviously magazines. And you used to walk by everywhere. You would see whoever's on the cover of the magazines. That's who's hot. You know, we don't really have that anymore because of social media. But my generation was always Ronnie, Jay, and Kai with their motivation and things of that nature.
Gotcha. Well, guys, I know it's been a long day for everybody, jobs and work, and obviously it's family time. But let's jump into this thing and let's start seeing the good and the bad here. So, Jason, we'll start off with you. Who do you see coming in the 7th spot?
7th? Well, you know, to just hit the nail on the head, I don't think anybody's going to dethrone Phil. I think Phil's going to be up there. I think he'll probably be up there for as long as he wants to. In the 7th place spot, you know, it could be a toss-up. I think Cedric looks good. You have Victor. You have Rolly Winkler. You have any of these guys that could be mixed around in that 7th place spot. And then you really it's tough to say for a 7th place spot. You know, you want to start off with the winner and go down the line. So, you know, if I could go that way, if it's okay, I'd like to say.
Yeah, let's go that way. So Richard, you in agreement too that you think it's Phil's year again?
I think if Phil is in good condition, I mean, I'd love to see him in his best condition for prejudging and for the finals. I know sometimes he's a little off on one or the other, and you know, with the type of physique he has, that always carries him through. But I'd love to see Phil peak for prejudging in the finals, and I think it would be a unanimous first place vote. And second, you know, I love Sean Roden. He's one of my athletes. I've known Sean for a while, and he's with my company. But I think it's going to be difficult for him to get into that 2nd place spot due to he had a little bit of a layoff this year due to an injury. But you know, 2nd could go between Dexter and Sean. You know, so there's my 2nd and 3rd place spots. I think Big Ramy should be a shoo-in for 4th. You know, and then you have 5th, 6th, and 7th, which could be a toss-up between Cedric, Rolly, Winkler. You have Victor. You have William. You know, any of those guys could take that, you know, 5th to the 7th place spot. So those are my predictions for the top 7.
Do you think now Victor's obviously in his 40s, and I know he's, I don't know the guy, so I'm not passing judgment, but I know he's kind of losing steam as he gets older. Do you think he still has it? I've heard rumors this year that Brant Warren finally retired. I don't know if there's any validity or if you've heard anything.
I heard that also. I didn't get an actual confirmation of it. It was a rumor, but Victor, he's hit or miss, because he's still carrying. I saw him a few months ago at an event here in New Jersey at the Team Universe, and he's still carrying his size. He looks good. He was in decent shape. I know he wants to make a good show. I'm sure he's on his way out. But he could, if he gets in good shape, he still has the quality, and he has great symmetry, great proportions. He could carry, anywhere from that 6th to 7th place spot. I mean, definitely in the top 10, but I think he could definitely carry that. He is a little older, but again, I think he trains smart, and he's been injury free for a little while now, so I think he could sustain and make a good showing. If this is his last Olympia or not, I'm not sure, but if it is, I think he'll make a good showing for himself. But yeah, there's a few guys that could be up there.
Who do you think out of the lineup, and I know hopefully you looked at it earlier, who do you think is going to surprise us the most? I mean, not cracking 2 or 3, but who maybe nobody has eyes on is going to crack the top 10 and surprise people?
I'll tell you, I think Sergio Olympia Jr. could make a really good showing for himself. I think he could surprise some people. With that being said, I think you're going to see some of the old familiar faces up there. But I don't know if there's going to be anybody that's really making a blowout showing for themselves, because it is a tough lineup, and some of these guys are they're just a shoo-in for the spots. I don't know if there's anybody out of the ordinary right now that's really going to make such a difference. But
yep.
I think Sergio Olympia Jr. could have a good showing, and I think if Cedric McMillan makes a strong case for himself and is in good shape and has held his mass, he could make a good showing for himself also.
Gotcha. And I know I've got this Facebook thing going on. A lot of people talking about this guy from Australia, Josh Lenardowitz. I'm probably not saying that right. I don't know if you've heard of him, but his name's been popping up a lot to crack the top 10 out of nowhere.
I have. I know the name. I've seen him. He looks great. Good quality physique. But this will be his first Olympia, and we'll see how it. Everybody looks great in pictures. Everybody looks great online. But when you compare him next to somebody with the quality of some of these top guys, it could be a little different. And I'm not saying he can't make a good showing for himself, but I think he'll have to stand the test of being on the Olympia stage with the top guys under those call-outs, and we'll see what happens.
I don't know if you made.
I think there's a correction there, though. He actually competed last year and took 9th. Josh.
Oh, Josh did?
Yeah, he took 9th last year. Guy's a freak.
Okay, yeah, so we'll see how he fares up this year.
I mean, he looked phenomenal. I think he did, what did he do, Tampa? I mean, he looked really good. I mean, he's somebody who might sneak into the top 6 or 7, in my opinion, if he really comes. He was one of my fringe guys. It's really hard to shuffle people around. I mean, I'll kind of lead into mine, and then we can kind of banter back and forth.
Yeah, please.
My biggest surprise, and I'm cheating a little bit because I actually saw photos of him from yesterday. But
you can't take guys in Sterno.
Win it.
Really?
It's good to have connections. I'll say that. But I got Ramy dethroning Phil this year as my surprise and my black horse kind of pick. I think the size that guy has, I think at this point he might have finally figured out his conditioning a bit, and that was always a struggle, that he was always so big but he never gotten conditioned. He's actually pretty lean, and if he dries out over the next couple of days, I mean, his weight is up there. He's over 300 pounds still, and I know Phil competes in like the 250s. So, I mean, I think that Ramy is just, and his symmetry is just unreal. You look at it, at his lats, his quad sweep is insane. I mean, he's just absolutely massive right now. So I have him as kind of dethroning. I mean, you gotta look at the whole picture, and I think most people know what I mean by that. I won't spell it out, but you gotta look at what's going on with Phil and not having a sponsor, and that got to impact something. So unless Phil really got a fire under his ass and really killed it with his training and really is going to come in with spectacular conditioning and make some improvements with bringing some extra muscle to fight the mass fight, I think that Ramy has a great shot at dethroning him. And then I got second and third based upon how Phil really comes in, because I've also seen some photos of Sean. I know he got a little bit late go, like Jason said, but he made some big improvements with his arms and his shoulders. So he might be able to make a run, but I don't think he can. I don't even think Sean has beaten Ramy at this point. So I think it's really Ramy and Phil for 1 and 2, Sean and Phil maybe 2 and 3 based upon how Phil comes in. And then the middle of the pack kind of gets a little bit sticky for me. I mean, I know Bonnick, they really like that guy. So I'm going to put him in 4th ahead of Dex. I just think I have Dex at 5 because of his legs.
Wow.
I think for a couple of years now, I mean, he's a perennial top guy, and he took 3rd last year, but I think these guys, just the mass that they're bringing now, I don't think that I think they're going to make his legs look even smaller with how big Ramy is right now, and how Phil comes in. So I think these guys might be able to surpass him just because of his legs. I mean, he has a crazy back, great upper body, but I got Dex in 5 just because, I mean, realistically, I mean, you can't stay at the top forever. So, I mean, unless they give him some sort of, courtesy. I mean, I thought in 2015 that was going to be his last year, and he's got the fountain of youth. So you never can count him out. But that's where I'm going to put him as just, pecking order goes. And then for my 6 and 7, I have Cedric at 6 because of his performance at the Arnold. I mean, it's really hard with Cedric because of his occupation. You don't really see much of him on social media, and I haven't seen photos of him. But, you hope that if he won the Arnold that he'd be a good threat to be in the top 7. And then I got Rolly at 7 because based on what Rolly's been posting lately, I don't think he's conditioned where he needs to be to move from where he was last year at 6 to break into the top 5. And I think that there's a lot more competition for that back half of the top 10 this year than there was last year. I think there's a lot of guys, like Jason said, like that you really have interchangeable from that 6 to 10 that you're like anybody.
Even Brandon Curry, you could throw that mix. I mean, he looked great. His last competition, he's made some strides, and if he can maintain that, you could throw him in that top 7 mix also.
For sure. I mean, and even that Nathan kid, he had his last year, and he's posted a lot of pictures out of the Camel Crew. They love posting their progress pics. So, I mean, he's been killing it in the gym. So he was 12 last year, so he could break into the top 10. That Josh guy looks absolutely insane. Hopefully he's still in the top. But you definitely got some talent in there from the year. I mean, and honestly, someone that's kind of been on one of those like 2nd tier to 3 tier kind of guys, Max Charles. I mean, he was really, really in shape this year a couple of times. So he might be able to sneak out a 9 or 10 spot. So it really just depends on what package these guys show up with on game day, in my opinion.
Rich, so you're going to be really a hero or a goat by picking Ramy number 1. I gotta give you that, brother.
Like I said, I cheated a little bit. But I mean, that guy, I know he was 4th last year. I just think with how the chips fall with Phil, losing Ultimate backing him and Ramy having the backing of the Camel Crew. I mean, as much as they like to say, oh, it's about physique, there's a lot of other factors that go into things. So they take the whole picture into account at the end of the day. And I just think that, Phil has had a stigma around him for a while, but he keeps winning and he keeps garnering support. But losing that support system of your sponsor behind you and really pushing you and networking for you, I think this might be the year that he kind of slips off and pays the price a little bit. Because, I mean, he's won 6 times already, right? He's going for 7. He's going to tie Arnold. So
yeah.
I mean, it's a really, I mean, there's a reason there's only a certain number of guys that really go on these streaks. At some point, you gotta pass the crown to somebody, and I just think that with the way that Ramy's come up, that he's just, I mean, he's the total package. I mean, if like I said, if that guy dries out even a little bit, people are just going to be shocked. I mean, you can't even imagine what it is like to look at a guy over 300 pounds peeled to the bone. I mean, he's certainly not peeled to the bone right now, but he's conditioned. So if he comes in and smashes the game, I mean, you know, but it's really a challenge sometimes. I mean, Jason probably knows this more than anyone. You never really know exactly what the judges want at the end of the day. You know, if they really, you know, some judges really like mass. Some judges really big on conditioning. That's why there's a panel of 7 judges. So you got to try and balance everything the best you can at the end of the day.
You know, and it's funny because I've been seeing things popping up around. I guess Phil posted something recently within the last week or two, and he said something along the lines of, you'll see the healthiest Phil you will ever see or you've ever seen. And, of course, nobody knows what the hell that means. So it'll be interesting. But for you saying Ramy, I know this has come up, and I don't know if it was somebody in the IFBB world that said this or just people talking, but people have said that Ramy will never be Mr. O because he doesn't speak English. And how can you have somebody going to, you know, press junkets and doing signings and everything else with a translator next to him? So I don't know if that's just fodder or if maybe there is some truth to that.
Well, I mean, look, people say things, you know, back and forth, but look, ultimately what we all would like to see happen is that the best physique that day is going to win the biggest title in the world, and whether that's Ramy or Phil or Sean or Dexter, you know, we'll see after this weekend. He certainly has a great chance. I know he's working either with a new trainer or his original trainer. Ramy is, but I know he's had some problems in the past. From what I hear, listening to people and taking criticism, I know he always wants to come in bigger, and the people that support him and that have been backing him up always want him to come in a little bigger and don't want the streamlined look that people feel that he's needed to kind of get him past that hump. No pun intended to the camel crew. But I don't know if that's going to hurt him this year or if it's going to help him. You know, we'll see. But I don't know if speaking English would be, well, look, it's a subjective sport, so you really never know. I would hope that wouldn't happen, but again, you never know. You know, ultimately, you know, you heard rumors of why this one would never win or why that one would never win, but ultimately, you know, again, you would think that, you know, if somebody's going to dethrone Phil, they got to get up there and dethrone him, and we'll see if that happens. I don't know if it will happen. Phil has a lot of stock or faith in Ramy doing it. I don't know if not speaking English will hinder him in that way. I'd like to think that it wouldn't, but you never know.
Now, Rich, I thought Phil was sponsored by Ultimate Nutrition. He's not with them anymore?
No.
Phil was cut a few months back. I think Dexter's the only athlete.
Yeah, Dexter with Ultimate as well. Yeah, they were both on the team last year, and Phil was with Ultimate until a few months ago. There was an issue with an appearance, and they basically ultimately decided to terminate his contract.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is the first year that you have a reigning Mr. Olympia that's not under contract with a company.
I
probably all right.
think that's correct. As crazy as that sounds coming out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Muscle Tech hasn't come knocking to ask him to come back.
Right. Well, if they're signing many athletes these days.
Yeah, I don't think Muscle Tech's bringing anybody on, and you know, I don't know if he's got the greatest track record in the world right now as far as companies are concerned. I mean, you get dropped from Muscle Tech, you you come out with gifted, you say you're an owner, you're not an owner, and then that ends up going under, and then you go with Ultimate, and you're not even you're there with them less than a year, I think, maybe just about a year. So I mean, what it comes down to is credibility. You know, when you're pushing products onto people and saying, "Hey, I use this, you should use this," you got to have fans that believe you when you say that, and that's coming into question for him, and that's going to be a problem. You know, even though you're a Mr. Olympia, you got all these titles. You know, when Jason and myself are involved in discussions around athletes and marketing and what you should do as a company, you really have to consider that when you're writing these big money contracts, because Phil ain't signing a contract for $2,000 a month. So right. If you're putting big money into somebody, then you need to get your return on your investment, and you're going to get exposure. But
you need an ROI, and if you can't justify that, and that's the problem these days with a lot of athletes not getting contracts. It's really hard to justify a return on your investment if you're a supplement company. And Rich is right. When you go from one company to the next, you do lose a little bit of credibility. Well, what did you really take? What were you using for this show? What were you using for that show? But look, if you're a well-spoken athlete, you present yourself well, and you could add value to a company, you shouldn't have a problem getting on with anybody. Hopefully Phil will catch on with somebody after this year. I mean, I think his physique gives him enough credibility, but just like Rich said, sometimes that gets lost down the line when you go from one company to the next.
Yep. So hey guys, I know we're kind of running down on time just a little bit, so let me give you my picks here. Obviously I am not a fan of Phil. I'm not just saying that to kiss some butt. I'm not a fan of Phil, but I think he's going to win it again this year. Whether he goes for 10, like he's been saying over the years, I don't know. I'd love to see him defeated, but I don't think there's anybody that's going to really push him. For my 2 and 3 spot, I'm going with Dex and Sean interchangeable. I know Rich, you mentioned earlier that Dex his legs are suffering a little bit, but I don't know if there's anybody, in the history of bodybuilding at 47 years old still cracking the top 5 at the Olympia.
Well, I think Albert Beckles did that a while back. He was in his 50s. We all remember the ageless Albert Beckles, and he definitely maintained his physique for a long time. I don't know if I really see the lack of legs that Dexter has. I'm not saying that it hasn't happened, but I don't know if it's going to hinder him as much as Rich is saying. Possible, but I think those top 3 predictions for you, Sean, are pretty good if you want to continue.
And the other thing too, I don't know if it was Rich or Jason saying they've seen Sean. I know it was last year or the year before. What people were saying that marked Sean down was he tried to play the side game, and thus his gut was a little bit distended, I guess. Has anybody seen him? Has he brought that back in check? Is he leaner this year?
I haven't. He's one of the athletes for my company, ProSups, and I haven't seen any recent pictures of him. I know he started his prep probably a little later than he should have, so I'm hoping that doesn't hinder him. But I don't know about his gut being distended, or I haven't heard that also or seen anything like that would justify that comment, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, again,
I know he was having an issue controlling it last year with some of his poses.
Maybe that's what it is.
I know that for a fact because that's information I got from Guy as one of his downfalls. That it's feedback Guy gave to Sean after prejudging. Guy Cicineo, my training partner, is best friends with Sean, and I know that Sean was having trouble. I don't think his gut's distended, but I don't think he was cognizant enough of blowing all that air out and really getting your waist as small as possible.
We're flatulent. I don't got a bad flatulence that weekend. I mean, we're all speculating. I'm kidding.
Yeah, and when I say distended, I don't. When I say distended, I obviously don't mean the pregnant belly by any means. But I know people said it wasn't as flat as it should have been.
Yeah, that's accurate. It is. As far as right now, I mean, in progress pictures, it's not there. But, I mean, the day of the show, you get up there, you go through a couple of rounds of posing, you're huffing and puffing, and you're focused on, bringing everything from the bottom. You're focused on your legs, getting your lats right, your arms, and then the last thing you think about is, I didn't blow all my air out and my stomach's out a little bit, and everybody likes to nitpick, and everybody's so hyper trolly on the freaking internet these days of like, that guy's growth gut is disgusting, and all the trolls come out to play, and you hear all the rumors and whatnot. But I mean, does he have a problem with a distended gut? No. Was it protruding last year? That's 100% correct.
Gotcha. So to wrap things up for me, I've got a lot different from you guys. I've got Cedric McMillan in 4 if he keeps himself dialed in like I think he's done the last couple of shows. In the 5 spot, I've got Ramy, so you and I are going to have a big discrepancy come Saturday night there, Rich. In 6, I've got Rolly, and again, Rolly's another wild card because he gets hot and cold, but I'm hoping for so many years he's found the formula. And my 7 dark horse this year, which people are probably going to laugh at, I'm going with Sergio Oliva Jr.
Wow. Well, he's got a great physique.
He's got the name behind him. That's tough. That's a tough prediction because he's a good talent. He's rising, but I don't think he's big enough. At the end of the day, when it comes down to it, a lot of these guys who have these big names in NPC, I don't want to name them off and be disrespectful or anything, but you got some guys who have all this air behind them, people hyping them up, and then they come out and they take 7th or 8th at the Arnold and stuff, or even the New York Pro, and then they're back at the drawing board. So, I mean, obviously he's the New York Pro winner. He's got a good shot. But when you're talking top 10 in the world, the New York Pro in 2017 certainly wasn't the lineup from 2016.
Sure.
So I think that, he's got the name, sure. So nothing's impossible in the world of bodybuilding.
Yep.
But that's a bold. My prediction of Ramy 1 is bold, but that's a bold prediction too, in my opinion.
Rich, whether you watch it Saturday or look the internet the next day, who, in a nutshell, who are you looking forward to standing side by side?
I really want to see Bonac. As weird as that sounds, the pictures that they keep posting of him, I mean, he looks good and round. I want to see his full package, but I really want to see how they juggle the top 5 because the IFBB is really consistent, and I think you mentioned it earlier. I to my knowledge, Branch has retired, but I think they really keep guys in placings as long as they're willing to compete. They pretty much paid their dues and they've got their spots. So it's, you really got to roll the dice when you're talking about switching up placings and really having. Nobody's really going to drop off the edge of the earth, and nobody's really going to make some ground-breaking, earth-rattling thing. So instead of being boring and just going with the Boyer player last year and just moving a person one placing, I kind of rolled the dice on my boy Ramy. But, it's just really tough. You never know what's going on behind the scenes. You never know how people are going to come in. You have people you root for. You just want a good showing. You want people to come in shape and hit their poses and be able to do the full round of posing. I mean, a lot of these guys, they huff and puff and they don't do their posing practice. You really want to see people who are aesthetically pleasing that really take the sport seriously and are able to just get hit with rounds of posing and they're not bent over on their knees on the stage, huffing and puffing.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
are you flying out to see it this weekend? Sorry, I was going to say, you flying out this weekend to see it? Yeah.
No, I will not. I will not be there. Believe it or not, it's kind of difficult for me to be there as a spectator since I've competed in the last. I've gone there once since I retired. My last showing was 2011, and it hits home a little bit. But yeah, it's difficult for me to be there and not be competing. I'm not. But again, I have my daughter's birthday coming up. I have my wife's birthday, so September's a rough month for me. But back to the competitors, I think we'd all love, and I think that's kind of why bodybuilding may have lost its luster a little bit because it's the same guys up there every year, the same showing, the same placings, and it gets a little stagnant. So I gave my predictions, but I would really love to see somebody step up and make a name for themselves, and maybe 2 or 3 guys, look, every year it's the Patriots and the NFL, and it's this team, and everybody wants to see the Patriots lose. I'm sorry for my Massachusetts people up there, but and it's really no different in bodybuilding. So I would really love to see somebody out of the blue come up there and make a name for themselves, like a William or a Sergio Oliva Jr. or somebody, Cedric, or somebody really, take their off season real serious and come out like the way Ronnie did when Ronnie Coleman won his first Olympia. He went from like 14th or 15th the year before to winning it the next year, so,
Yep.
To see that happening, again, would be great, I think, for the sport and give the fans something to really cheer for. I don't know if that'll happen. I'm hoping for that, but my predictions kind of stay the same. But no, I will not make it out there this year.
I completely agree with you, Jason. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, thank you.
And then some of the other names that didn't come up that are pretty popular. Lionel Bayecki, maybe he came up or not. We've got Juan Morel, which I guess it comes up good and bad. And then obviously some of the other ones like Max Charles and Brandon Curry and Nathan Diasha. So maybe some of these guys will surprise us and come out of nowhere.
I mean, that'd be great to see, and it'd definitely be entertaining, and it might be what the sport needs right now, but we'll see if that happens.
Jason, so wrapping up, I know it's been a while since you and I chatted. What's going on in the pro stuff world? Anything exciting to announce? Let the fans know about?
Oh, it's always exciting here at Pro Subs. There's always a lot of turns and exciting new innovations. But no, we have the My Cookie and the My Bar, which has been a big hit. We're hoping it comes up even more. And the Mr. Hyde, that's our niche product. Hyde, Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll. But the bars and cookies are doing well for us, and we're hoping to come out with some new products for the end of the year. We have a carbonated Mr. Hyde energy drink. So that's kind of what we're putting our stock in for the balance of 2017.
Gotcha. And Rich, what about you? Anything new and exciting coming up for you guys?
We're definitely, every company should always be working on R&D and formulating some things. We got a couple of ideas for some new products on the horizon. One that I can disclose that we haven't officially announced yet that's going into production is a non-stim pre-workout. It's a formulation of our Hooligan where we just took away the caffeine. So it's still a great pump formula, but we acknowledge that, there's a market of people who train late at night and they don't want the stims, but they still need a pump. There's still plenty of other ingredients involved in pre-workouts that are beneficial during your workout. So we'll be coming out with a non-stim Hooligan to pair up with our stim version of our pre-workout, which is called Hooligan. So keep an eye out for that coming hopefully in the next 6 to 8 weeks. I would think we should have the order because it's already going into production.
And Rich, plug the website, your social media, everything else if people want to follow you.
Mine is Rich Vellucci, V as in Victor, Ellucci. Apollon Nutrition is APOLLON Nutrition, and all of our social media, our website is apollonnutrition.com. Instagram is Apollon Nutrition. We have Facebook Apollon Nutrition. So give us a search.
And Jason, same for you. Where can people learn about you, company, everything else?
Oh, they could Google me. They don't want to Google me, but they could find me on Instagram at Jason Arntz. But hey, and my hat's off to Apollon Nutrition. They're a New Jersey-based company. I know Rob and Rich, you guys are making strides, and I think you guys are doing a great job there. And I wish you guys all the success and the luck that comes your way. But they could email me jasonarntz@aim.com or jason@prosteps.com. But yeah, my Facebook is just my name. Instagram's just my name. But yeah, social media is definitely a way to find what's going on in the industry especially the bodybuilding and fitness industry. But yeah, they could find me. They just run my name, and God knows what comes up. But they'll find something interesting. Yeah.
Did you already have your show this year? Did you have your show this year, or did you have it this year?
I do. I promote the MPC, the Muscle Beach, which I just had in August. It was a great turnout this year. I have it every summer in August, national qualifier. And I invite all the tri-state athletes or anybody in the Northeast to come compete next year. 2017 NPC Muscle Beach. It'll be most likely first weekend of August. And they could find me on jasonarntz.net also, but my Instagram I do postings and my poster and sponsors and everybody's up there also.
Perfect. Well, gents, I want to thank you so much. This wraps up our fourth annual Gets the Mr. O show. Be sure to visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/SuppTalk. Lay down your picks, and by this time Sunday, we'll be, I guess we'll see who the hero is and who the GOAT is of this conversation. Again, gents, thanks so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Rick.
We'll be right back.